New Zealand's primary industries sector has proven more resilient than expected, with the creation of over 1,300 jobs in October, offering higher salaries and better conditions. This growth comes despite other industries that are shedding jobs and shows a positive shift for farming after a tough period of reduced export prices and rising costs. Federated Farmers Dairy Industry Group Chair Richard McIntyre says that while there are still challenges in finding skilled workers, the decline in urban job opportunities has led to more people considering rural roles, particularly in dairy farming. And Richard McIntyre joins me now. Good afternoon, Richard.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Hey, look, thanks for your time. I know you're a busy man. Well, it's looking good, creation of over 1,300 jobs. You have said farmers are often running with slightly less employment than they would like. Why is that?
Look, it comes down to the fact that a lot of urban-based people, don't like moving into rural centres, and often sort of the outdoors nature of farming doesn't appeal to everyone. So, we try and provide good conditions and all of that sort of thing for employment, but often it's very hard to entice people from urban areas out to rural areas, and in particular once you get a little bit more remote. But we hear stories quite often where someone's driving out from an urban centre for an interview and they reach an hour past, hour out of the city, and they turn around and go back and never attend the interview. So we've got challenges in that respect in terms of actually attracting people out of cities. So look, we love hiring Kiwis. We can't always, but what we're finding here is we're obviously having more suitable candidates who are keen to actually give it a crack, applying for jobs and obviously getting them.
That's great. Gosh, I love leaving the city, Richard. And as I get more into the rural areas, I'm like, this is awesome. But I get it. So what other challenges are farmers facing? Is it just, and farmers have offered salary increases, and sometimes there's also there's accommodation, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So probably the other big incentive at the moment, certainly salaries have increased quite a bit over the last few years. But the other real positive is, while urban rents have gone up quite a bit, often a farming job comes with a house. And when I say that, you do pay rent at market rent, but that market rent is a hell of a lot lower than what you'd be paying in a city. And you also typically don't have to travel to work. For example, I step out my door and I'm at work, so you don't have any of those transport costs or anything like that. So in terms of the actual disposable income that you take home every week or fortnight or whatever it is, it's actually pretty blooming attractive.
You never switch off though, Richard, when work's right on your doorstep, isn't it? It's right there.
Exactly.
Open the door and there's work. But I get it. The calibre I see required of farm staff has increased over the past 20 or 30 years. What tell us how?
Right. So this relates to, I guess, this increasing recognition from both society and I guess farmers of that duty of care that we've actually got to our environment and to our animals and the likes, and the fact that in order to achieve that duty of care, we need staff that can shift the effluent irrigator properly every time and ensure that no effluent goes into a drain, that can pick up on any slight changes to animal health and resolve them straight away. And those duties of care are there 24/7. And so it's really one of the situations that the staff that we do hire, the caliber needs to be at a point where they can be responsible for those things, because like I said, society expects it of us and we expect it of ourselves as well.
Yeah, good point. How important are government policies, Richard, in helping the agricultural sector or the dairy sector grow employment? Is there anything the government can help with? Do they help with wages, for apprentices? I don't know how this works.
Look, I think one of the biggest things the government can do, and it has done this a little bit just recently, is actually talk positively about the ag sector. We spent quite a bit of time with the government and even government departments talking about agriculture as a sunset industry. So when you start thinking about, as a school leaver, what you want to do with your life, you generally don't want to sign up to be part of a sunset industry. And so, the government just, talking positively about the ag sector, talking about the strong future that it actually does have, people want to eat. And we are, the most efficient producers of meat and milk, from a greenhouse gas point of view and many other points of view as well in the world. So we've got a hell of a lot to offer and we've got a strong future. So government can start by doing that. But then We've got to sort the vocational training side of things out as well. That's a little bit of a mess at the moment. I think they've been in between in terms of all these different restructures, and they don't quite know what they're supposed to be. We've got to sort that out so that we can, attract the best and brightest into the sector, and then train them up to be, really great contributing members of the sector and obviously New Zealand's economy.
Yeah, it must be difficult, Richard, because, when I was growing up, we had a family farm and farmers were revered almost, not revered, that's probably a bit strong, but you know what I mean. And then over the years with green and so forth and methane gases, farmers got hit pretty hard and it kind of shifted. But I do believe majority of New Zealanders, back the farmers and understand how important they are. But as a kid, as a school leaver, I wonder, what percentage think, I'm going to go and work on a farm, or I want to go and live in the rural life or work on dairy. Do you have figures or of what school leavers want to do?
We personally don't survey school leavers and sort of what their intentions are or anything like that. We do know that there are plenty that are interested in it, but they don't always have a pathway for it. Like we've had some pretty good initiatives in the past in terms of Get the Kiwis on Farm was one of them, which was working with MSD to actually get young people and all sort of people on benefits onto farm. Unfortunately, that has not been able to carry on. It ran out of funding, which is disappointing. But yeah.
Rich, while I've got you, I'd like to discuss a few more issues. I see Federated Farmers have submitted a formal complaint to the Commerce Commission requesting an urgent investigation into the lending practices of New Zealand banks. Can you explain to us what does the complaint relate to?
Yeah, sure. So back in 2021, New Zealand's basically top 5 banks that lend to agriculture. So they lend 97% of that, or responsible for 97% of agricultural lending. They either by themselves or through their parent banks signed up to the Net Zero Banking Alliance. And so amongst other commitments that committed them to setting emissions reduction targets for their lending portfolios. So the people that they lend money to, and so that includes obviously agriculture and various other sectors, and obviously the residential market. But they in particular needed to put pressure on what they considered to be their highest emitters. And so in New Zealand, that's considered to be energy and us in terms of farmers. So we don't, although I personally disagree with it, but we don't have a fundamental issue with individual businesses setting policies, right, in terms of how they want to lend and who they want to lend to. But what we do have a problem with is when there appears to be a coordinated approach to this, choosing who they lend to. And, if a bank makes this decision and a farmer doesn't like it, or whoever doesn't like it, they can go to another bank. But when they've all agreed that they're going to set these targets and do these various things, then it really comes across like it could very well be anti-competitive or cartel-like behaviour. And so that's why we've written this letter to the Commerce Commission saying, look, I guess it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, and it could very well be a duck.
It's a duck.
Having a look to see if it is one, right? So look, it'd be really interesting to see where they get to with it.